Good afternoon, you Maine freshmen. Thank you for tuning in to today's edition of This is Black Bear Bananas. Since the recent start of the 2024-2025 school year, the University of Maine has experienced major setbacks in the level of preparedness their students have come to with on how to write emails. Professors, advisors, and other faculty have been put into anaphylactic shock by their inboxes in the past 3 months.
Emails have been seen using slang that anyone over the age of 21 might find completely confusing, with students referring to Dean as their bro or dog. And to make matters worse, some still can't even tell the difference between there, and there. Colleen, this is truly a tragedy.
An absolute devastation to the world as we know it. Our wonderful reporters went in search far and wide for a way to solve this plague. Let's hear some of the thoughts those that roam UMaine have to share.
Good afternoon. We're here today asking everyday people for their thoughts on an important topic in the world of business, email communication, specifically how to write an effective email. Let's see what the average person knows. Hey there, do you have time for a quick interview?
Yeah, what's it about?
It's about email communication.
Okay.
We're talking about email communication today. How do you feel about writing emails for work or business? Do you think you're good at it?
Emails, I send them, but I don't really know if they're that great. I just kind of write what I need and hit send.
You don't really have a strategy when it comes to writing an effective email?
Not really, I just make sure to get to the point. I usually start with hey or something casual, and then I close with something like thanks or talk soon.
What about making sure your emails are clear and professional? Do you ever think about how your emails might be received by the person on the other end?
Not really, honestly. I try to keep it simple, but I guess I don't really think about sounding professional. I just hope they get it.
That's understandable. When you're writing emails in a business context, it's important to consider how the recipient might view the message. For example, making sure your subject line reflects the context of your email. Have you ever thought about that?
Subject line? Oh, right. I just usually leave it blank or write something like question if I'm asking something. I didn't realize that can really make a big difference.
Yeah, a clear subject line helps the person understand the purpose of the email. Do you ever consider how your email might sound, especially if you're talking to a boss or someone you don't know well?
I guess. I've never really thought about that. I just write how I talked in person. But now that you mention it, that maybe that's not always the best choice. I don't want to sound rude.
Yeah, tone can be tricky. In business emails, it's important to strike the right balance between being polite and clear. You can still be friendly without being too casual or too formal. And how about email length? Do you keep your emails short and sweet, or do you tend to write long ones?
Honestly, I just try to keep it short, but sometimes I write a lot if I have a lot to explain. I'm not sure why it would ever matter that much.
Keeping emails brief is usually the best, but you also want to make sure you provide enough details so they don't have to ask for clarification. Think balance. Have you ever sent an email and then realized you forgot something important?
Oftentimes, yes. Send emails and then realize I didn't attach the file I promised, or I missed some of the details. It's kind of embarrassing.
Happens to everyone. That's why it's important to double check your emails before you send them. Just a quick proofread can save you a lot of trouble later. Do you follow up on emails if you don't get a response?
Not really. I just kind of wait, and if they don't respond, I hope they get back to me eventually.
It's actually a good idea to follow up after a few days, especially if the email was important. A little reminder can help nudge things along without being pushy.
I guess I didn't think of that. I'll have to try that out next time.
Great, thanks so much for chatting with us today.
Yeah, thanks for the tips.
Well, it looks like not everyone is an expert when it comes to email communication, but that's okay. We all have room to improve. Now let's switch gears and hear from another person.
Hey everybody, I think I found somebody we can interview. Let's go. What's up, bro?
What up?
You want to go inside for a quick interview?
Sure.
So, do you consider yourself a pro writing business emails?
I wouldn't say I'm a pro, but I've definitely learned a lot over the years.
In your opinion, what would you say is the most important aspect of writing an effective business email?
For me, it's all about clarity and professionalism. If the recipient can understand what you're trying to say in the first few lines, it's a lost cause. I start by making sure my subject line is clear and specific. If they can't immediately tell what the email is about, they might not open it, or worse, they might ignore it altogether. Same goes for greetings and signing off. Being polite usually helps to engage the conversation, and ending it nicely with best or a thank you goes a long way.
Absolutely. The subject line is key, as in keeping professionalism. What about the body of the email? How do you make sure your message is effective without overwhelming the reader?
I try to keep the email as short as possible while still covering everything that's needed. I usually break it into short paragraphs, maybe with bullet points if there's a list of things to cover. It helps fully gather the information, and I always make sure there's a clear call to action at the end so they know exactly what I need from them.
That's a great approach. What about the tone? How do you adjust your tone based on who you're emailing?
Well, that depends on who I'm emailing. If it's a close colleague or someone I've worked with for a while, it may be a bit more casual, but I always maintain professionalism. With higher ups, I keep it more formal, but still polite and friendly and proofread it at the end. I've learned that overly formal can sound cold, but being too casual might come off as unprofessional.
And what about email length? Do you go overboard with your messages?
Well, it happens sometimes, especially if I'm really struggling with something, but can always try to check myself before I hit send. I ask, do they really need all this, or can I cut some of it out?
That's smart. Let's move on to something that can trip people up. Follow-up emails. What's the approach when someone hasn't responded to your email?
I guess I'd wait a few days and then send a follow-up. Just something that references the original email so they know what I'm talking about. I keep it friendly, something like, just want to check in, see if you had a chance to review my email.
That's a good method, being polite but persistent. What about mistakes in emails like typos or missing attachments? How do you handle that?
Mistakes happen, but I think the best thing to do is own up to them quickly. If I realize I sent something wrong with an error, I'll send a quick follow-up with a correction.
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today. And there you have it, folks. It's clear that even small changes to email habits can make a huge difference in business communication.
And that's all for today's segment on effective email communication in business. Whether you're just getting started or already an email pro, remember that a clear, concise, and polite email can work wonders in business. Thanks for tuning in to Black Bear Bananas. And remember, don't call the dean bro. We'll see you next time.